Thanks, everybody. My name is Josh. Audio okay? Sam, too close to the mic or not? Welcome to my take of breaking into information security. As you can tell by my huge title, this is a light-natured / fun talk. There's two reasons for that. My own journey into information security, it was fun. I had a lot of fun figuring it out how to do it, and I did it. I'm proud of it, so I'm up here talking about it. Second reason, last year at DerbyCon, I saw Ed Scotus do a talk, and I liked a mentality that he put out, that he would do a highly technical talk one year and then rotate over to a fun talk the next year. That seems like a good idea to me. It's stressful to do talks if you haven't done one, but doing a fun talk is less stressful, slightly. Last year I was doing open source intelligence talks at DerbyCon and B-Sides Charleston, so if you feel like digging those up, feel free. This year is more of a fun talk of how to get into InfoSec, so I hope you enjoy. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah. Ooh. Sorry, it's off the board a little bit. All right, the important part's visible. We'll keep going. That's me. Cool. All right. A little bit about me. I did have a gag bio on my slide, but I do digital forensics for a private investigation company in Columbia, South Carolina. I technically am a licensed PI. I don't do a lot of the cool PI stuff like covert cameras and GPS tracking and surveillance and stuff, a little bit, but the cool stuff I get to do is all computer-based. I've got computer images in the lab, mobile devices, tablets, basically anything the PIs come across that they don't know how to get into, they bring to me, and I try to get into it, so that's pretty fun. I also get to help them with OSINT if they need help digging online for stuff on people, places, things, and that is also a lot of fun for me. The format of my talk is do's and don'ts, so you'll get the feel for it here as we go. Do's, don'ts, and story time. So that's also my Twitter handle if you want to follow along. All right. Do check out the many breaking into InfoSec talks that are out there already. I did a lot of watching of podcasts and talks and just following along to everything that was out there already. I started to put down some of my favorite ones and realized real quickly that Rob Fuller, Mubix, he has an awesome site where he documented most of the really good ones. So do yourself a favor, and if you're trying to break into InfoSec, check out his page, because he's got almost all the good ones there. So no need to reinvent the wheel. Check his page out. Fully support that. Don't take any single breaking in talk as canon. There's a lot of facets that I pulled from a lot of different talks that applied to me and a lot that didn't apply. I had a few pieces that stood out on my own, and they, that's why I'm doing this talk, is to share the pieces that maybe fell through the cracks and somebody else will pick up on. So it's a tricky path. Everybody's different where they come from and where they're going to go in InfoSec. So don't believe every single talk you hear. Just apply it to you as you need to. Story time. I already told you what I do for a living professionally. Where I came from, what I did is I was a sales manager for Staples for the last 13 years before I got into InfoSec. I was good at my job. As my bio was gleaned, I grew up on technology. Atari 2600, Commodore 64, and everything in between. If you go and work for a company like Staples for 13 years, you're going to come up through Palm Pilots, Windows XP, Vista, 8, everything as you go along. So you get a good piece of all that, as well as all the peripherals that interact with these computers. So essentially, I had the background I needed. I just needed to figure out how to evaluate my skill sets and get into this magical job of InfoSec. So do evaluate your skill sets, think outside the box. If you go and kind of comb through your resume, look for those standout skills that you can apply towards a security position. I was in sales. I was obviously involved with technology, but I was a sales manager. I had to sell people things and services. So I had a lot of sales and services training. We were mirroring body posture. We were looking to build rapport with our customers. We were learning how to social engineer people for money. When they say think outside the box, you got to use those things that you've been doing for a long time to, work your way into, a security skill set that's valuable to an interviewer. As a sales manager, we also looked at, loss prevention. We would realize that somebody had come into a neighboring store and tried to pop every single Surface tablet off display, or run a certain type of credit card fraud. We were sharing threat intelligence, between stores. So again, if you're in an interview, yeah, I know a little bit about threat intelligence. I may not have come from a, sysadmin security background, but I know what you're talking about, and this is how I can help you. Don't overlook your regular duties as not part of your skill set. Don't be afraid of what's in the box. As I filled out my resume update when I was trying to get into InfoSec, customer service was a huge thing, and that's to a lot of people when they're looking at their resume. But customer service is client management. You're always going to have that no matter what role you're in. So don't sell that short. You know how to work with people, how to deliver a deadline to somebody, and how to make your employer look good. So keep that stuff in mind. We did store inventory just like every other retailer. That's asset management. You're taking care of everything that you own, putting a value on it, and you understand what your company is worth and what you have, in your building. Don't forget the little things. Overall, I was around a lot of electronics in the time I was with that company. I basically have the Rain Man skill if I'm watching any television show that has technology in the background of the last 10 years to be like, oh crap, that's a Uniden, phone on the desk of this fake office. That's a Panasonic fax machine. Like, you get some weird, uncanny abilities when you're in a role for that long, but it's all technology related, and it kind of ends up coming out useful every once in a while. Story time. One of my favorite customer stories came from, I think it was around 2009, 2010. In my store, one of my responsibilities was to run the help desk for EasyTech with the company. So we got a phone call one day. A particular store I was working at had a kind of a rural farmer-based contingent. So I got a phone call that was like, yeah, I got something on my computer that I don't know what to do about. I need to talk to somebody in your tech department. Okay, what do you got on your screen? Well, number one, it says FBI's got a warrant out for my arrest. That's BS. Number two, it says that my computer's involved with pornography. That's BS. Number three, it says it's got sites involved with child abuse. That's BS. Number four, it's got something involved with zoophilia, whatever the hell that is. That's BS. Dude had the old school money pack FBI scareware on his computer. It was one of my favorite interactions on the phone with a customer. I was like, okay, relax, put him on hold, checked it out. Obviously, he wasn't under arrest by the FBI. But it started to key in the fact that I was interested in something more than what I was doing. The thing that actually stuck through the most after that story was I went online and researched some stuff, and I came across a blog by Kaspersky Labs. talking about how they were scamming the Microsoft scammers, and they pulled, a virtual machine, got the scam call of, hey, this is Microsoft, you've got issues, and put them in, ran a whole bunch of reverse analysis on the scammers, and put it on this blog for people like interested in security to realize. And that's actually the day that I realized that I wanted to go into information security. I printed out that article and I was like, this is awesome. I showed my coworkers and they're like, whatever. I took it home, I showed my wife, she's like, okay, cool, whatever. So it hit me that day that I wanted to get into that kind of role, and that definitely stuck. So all the whatevers lead you to the next thing is look for the InfoSec people that are in your area. You can be interested and excited about this stuff, but be around the other people that are interested and excited about this stuff too. I looked for my local security meetup, and I found a bunch of guys in a group called CarolinaCon in Columbia. When you do that kind of thing, don't be afraid to join the conversation. These guys were in security roles already. I did myself a solid by looking up some current news security articles that were out there, and in this interaction with all these people that were already established in these fields that I wanted to go into, I was able to contribute to the conversation just because they like talking about security stuff. Most people in conferences like this are cool with talking about security stuff with random people. So bring something to the conversation. Don't be afraid to talk to them, because most of them are going to be cool talking back to you, even if it's to teach you something you're trying to get into. Do network with the organizers when you go to these events. The CitySec organizers, they really like networking, and even more, they really like volunteers. So if you've got something to contribute to them, be it a discussion or a fire talk or something, they're going to remember who you are, and they're going to invite you back. So as soon as you're able to contribute something to that community, do it, because it's helpful to them, and it helps build the organization as a whole. So gather around, you guessed it, more story time. The very first meeting I went to at CarolinaCon, I met one of the organizers during my networking spree. His name was Tim DeBlock. He's got a really good blog out there too. Check it out if you're able to. He was going to a conference called DerbyCon. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks away from that particular meetup that I went to. And he said, hey, if you're thinking about getting into this stuff, you need to go to security conferences. So try to find a ticket. I'm already going. I've got a rental car, hotel and everything. Just get a ticket, go with it. You'll enjoy it. So I did. I got hold of a ticket, hit the road with this dude that I met like 3 weeks ago. My wife was like, "Is this a good idea? You're going, several states away with somebody you never met. It's cool. He's a security guy. It should be all right, right?" Like, okay. So we get in the road, we take off, and he's fine. We're driving off. She's sending me messages. Hey, everything going okay? I was like, yeah, cool. We just stopped to pick up another dude. Like, is he cool? Yeah, he's a security dude too. What's his name? His name's Killswitch. Like, totally cool. Everything's fine. What's up, man? So it was a bit adventurous, but that trip actually turned into probably one of my favorite conference trips. I ended up doing a ton of good networking. It was one of those that I bit the bullet and went for it, and it paid off in several different ways. So do go to security conferences. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir to all of you here, but the networking that you can do, the speakers that you'll be exposed to, and the after hours antics that you can get involved with will help build those relationships that are way stronger than just pushing polishing your resume and shooting it out to everybody. So yeah, get involved with security conferences as much as you can and do the extracurriculars because they're useful. At the conferences, don't be afraid to go to a talk that's over your head. Bottom line is you will learn something. You know, a lot of information security jobs are in different facets and niches. So you're going to be able to find the ones that your background clicks with and the ones that it doesn't, or maybe it just doesn't yet. But it's interesting to you. So, you know, take your notes, write some, you know, where you went to, who your speakers were, but go to any talk you want to. If it sounds interesting, check it out. Do take a notebook with you. I've never seen this movie, but I'm pretty sure it's about InfoSec because, you know, they have notebooks. But seriously, go to the talks that are over your head. Take a notebook. Number one, it makes the speakers feel good. If you're writing something down and you're up on the podium, they're like, yes, I said something good. And then, you know, number two, look the things up. When you get home, do your own self-study. The things that you don't understand, like it could just be an abbreviation that they rattled off like we should have understood. Write it down, check it out on Google, and you're going to probably open up some rabbit hole of self-learning that is going to be valuable when you come out on the other side. Don't be intimidated by the speakers. At my first conference, the same DerbyCon one from the story before, I went to a talk by a former NSA cryptographer by the name of Jeff Mann. The local brewery there in Louisville was doing a crypto challenge, and I just went up to him after the talk. I was like, hey man, I was like, we've been working on this crypto challenge and we're completely stymied. You got a background in crypto? Help me out? Sure, hit me up later. So they're cool. You know, they have cool backgrounds. They have, you know, a lot of history and security, but they're very approachable. If they're up there speaking, go up and you know, say hi and try to interact with them. After their talks, go up and ask them questions. Like I did before, I was just asking for simple help on a puzzle, you know, that was given to me by a brewery. But if you didn't understand something from part of their talk, go ask them for a good resource to learn about that part of their talk. They'll hook you up. Tell them something that you happen to have researched that applied to what they were talking about. You know, that kind of stuff just spurs conversation, and you'll be surprised like what can happen if you go up to a speaker and bring that kind of conversation with you. That said, if you're going to go up to a speaker, make sure you're following the 3-2-1 rule. 3 hours of sleep, 2 meals, 1 shower. Don't smell if you're going to go up and talk to Ed Scotus or Jeff Mann. You know, it's just courtesy. Do buy the speakers a beer, age appropriate, of course. Kind of filed this under pro tip. If you offer to buy them a beer to BS with something that they, you know, were talking about at their speech, you've got a solid 5 minutes of their time if they say yes. So, you know, no thanks, I got to go, you know, whatever. Offer to buy them a beer, buy yourself 5 minutes of your time with the speaker that you want to talk to, and, you know, learn some stuff, network, you know, build it up. Same story, you know, I used my story time. I did use the beer strategy to get Jeff Mann to help me with my crypto challenge. But I also was able to go get like a sweet selfie with Ed Scotus. Some of the other ones I've interacted with other SANS speakers, and it's turned into referrals and job recommendations and stuff down the road. You know, again, the extracurricular stuff that happens at the conferences, especially at bar time, can be very valuable to your career down the road. Do have fun at conferences. I'm not saying don't follow the rules, but some of the best stories and memories I have at the conferences involve being somewhere that I maybe wasn't authorized to be at. So just don't be that guy. This was some stupid drama that happened at DerbyCon last year. Have fun, keep your drinking under control, and be cool about it. Story time. This was the first DerbyCon. Goes back into the dangerous road trip with strangers. The concert night was the Crystal Method. They were my favorite electronic group. They're still one of the solids out there. After the show, I was going to figure out how do I get backstage to hang out with the Crystal Method. This is like one of those venues where I can make this happen. All the people that were kind of VIPs and press and everything, they were gathered around, and I noticed Chris Hadnaggy of socialengineer.org. So I just kind of walked up behind him right before they popped the doors open. I was like, hey man, quick social engineering experience. I'll follow you back here, and if they boot me, they boot me. If they don't, they don't. And he looked at me, he was like, cool, let's go. So I'm just walking in behind Human Hacker, and I hang out backstage with the Crystal Method in the green room and, have a good old time. That said, that was an awesome night. I got to meet Rev Rance, rest in peace. It was a great story. It's like one of my favorite, conference antic stories. But again, it happened because I went somewhere I wasn't maybe supposed to be, and it didn't hurt anybody. So, get a Twitter account. All the networking and building that I did when I started going to these conferences, it was super easy to connect with people on Twitter. It lets you stay in touch. You can kind of send them a kudos or a props based on their talks that you saw. It's just one of those easy tools to use. Being in security, I understand the paranoia part of that. Don't be the Ermiger, don't ever use social media person, which is fine if you feel that way. I'm not saying don't do it, but just know how to use it securely. Was it just last week, I think, that Twitter changed all their privacy and location settings to default. If you're going to use it as a security person in a security environment, follow the changes and keep your accounts secure. Use your public accounts, do all the good stuff. Don't forget to stay in touch with the people you meet at conferences. The Twitter thing helps because if I miss a talk, I can watch it on the feed usually, and then give them a retweet with a, hey, this talk was awesome, check it out for this reason. They usually see that stuff. If you put a talk out there and somebody retweets it with a good comment about it, you're going to notice that, and, no matter how big you are. So stay in touch with the people. Use whatever means necessary, social media or just an email with their contact slide at the end of their talk. But stay in touch. Story time. One of the best stories I have of networking and influencing my job interview process was some of the blog reading and networking and interaction I did. Leslie Carhart, Hacks for Pancakes on Twitter, she was in digital forensics. I knew that based on the blogs and the stories and talks I'd seen her do. So when I led with the private investigators in Columbia, it was with OSINT, because that's what I was like the heaviest study into based on all the conferences I went to. And they came back with we want to bring you in here for an interview. I was like, yes, I'm going to get an OSINT job. And they were like, it's for digital forensics. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yes, I'll be there. And then real quick, I hit my network up. Leslie was awesome. She gave me some great pointers and things to look into going into that interview that I'm not saying that it carried me, but my background and then knowing what somebody on the inside would recommend looking at, it was a huge benefit to that interview, and it worked. I got in. I've been enrolled for a year and 4 months, I think, with that position. Do pay it forward. That said, I've been in my role for just over a year. This is my third conference talk. Find a way to contribute back. They helped me find my position, get my foothold, get in the door. As soon as you feel confident or the ability to give back, do it. Start a blog, go do a talk, volunteer at a conference, do what you can to kind of keep the community effort of InfoSec moving, because it helps people, it really does. Don't hold back because you're a noob. like I said, I'm not that far into this thing, but I feel like the content that I put on my blog and the talks that I've given so far have helped people. I've got feedback after the talks, and it's not something that it's because I'm new. It's because somebody actually like struck a chord with them, and they were able to find something that helped them. And I also feel like there's a sense of a fresh outlook. You'll notice kind of the healthy paranoia and kind of the jaded of InfoSec as you start to study it. And those kind of folks that are already out there and doing it for many years, they kind of appreciate like the fresh outlook and perspective on it. There's something like kind of recharging for them, I think. So they appreciate that. So get out there and contribute back what you've learned and what you're learning. Cool. That's kind of towards the end. If you want to connect, that's my Twitter link. That's my blog. This is more of a casual format, but the link there does have a more formal write-up of how I did it, if you want to check that one out. And then obviously, like I said before, check out Mubix's Breaking In collection. It's a really good set of all the good InfoSec resources. I've got some future OSINT tools I plan on rolling out to the blog, and I think we've got some OSINT activities planned for B-Sides Charleston this year. So if you feel like following along, that's how you can do it. Thank you very much.